Hey, what's going on, Game Leapers? This is Iggs, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 10 best champions for patch 12.17, which got released on Twitter today. So we're going to go through some of those changes, and of course, with the 10 champions we will give you the runes you need to run, the items, the summoner spells, the skill order as well.
But just before we get into the video, is sponsored by Outplayed, the ultimate video capturing app for gamers like us. So while playing, the Outplayed app is going to automatically capture your best moments and biggest plays on the Rift, and you can also manually record with a simple hotkey. Now, once your match is over, you can scroll through your clips, you can select the ones you want to show the world, share them with your friends on Discord and YouTube, and there's also a really easy to use video editor, so you can edit those clips so they look super clean for your champion main subreddit to watch and admire. And even if you're not playing League, the Outplayed application supports over 300 games. So if you want an easy to use challenger application to record your games, to record your highlights, Outplayed is definitely it. Check out those links in the description down below. Now, we're going to go in no real particular order here. We're just going to go from the top role all the way down to the support role. So starting in the top lane, why don't we talk about Renekton? And I know what you're thinking, Renekton is getting nerfed in 12.17, which is correct, but these nerfs, to be honest, actually sound like buffs. So what's happening to Renekton? Your Q's base damage. So both the standard Q and your empowered Q, the base damage is going down, especially at later ranks, which might be a bad thing because you are going to max your Q first. But here's the thing, guys. Your bonus AD ratio in your Q is increasing for both of them. So this means for Renekton, once you start getting more attack damage in the game, so after your Prowler score spike and maybe a couple of Bruiser items deep, your Q is going to be dealing so much damage. And because it will be dealing more damage in the mid to late game, you will also be healing for more as well. Now, it might be true that Renekton's early game, that's what you're really playing the champion for, is a little worse off, but to be honest, it should still be easy to dumpster the laning phase on Renekton, even with the base damage nerf for your Q, and once you do get to the mid to late game, you have scaling now. Also, the changes this season to Renekton, the Riot have actually given him, have been oriented around giving him some sort of mid to late game power or compensation, just in case you don't actually do too well in the early game. Renekton now, as a result of all these changes, easily has enough, and with the Prowler's Claw build, maybe this nerf discourages you guys from going Blade of the Rune King as a first item, but with Prowler's Claw, it's really all you need. The damage you deal is insane, and you can easily one-shot anyone in the top lane. So Renekton is the first champion to consider, followed by AAtrox. Now, AAtrox, a bit like Renekton, loves going lethality, in particular, Eclipse as his mythic item, and it's one of the big reasons you're seeing AAtrox picked a heck of a lot more across the board, and also in pro play at the moment you're seeing him picked, and it really is just because of Eclipse. Yes, I understand that Riot did buff the AAtrox Q, the sweet spot damage, so if you're a good AAtrox player, which is just nice for the game, it really rewards those AAtrox players who know how to play the champion, because when you hit the enemy champion with the sweet spot or your Q, you'll be dealing more damage. So if you can play AAtrox to a certain extent, and if you build Eclipse, the damage you deal, it is just off chops. And AAtrox in pretty much every single elo is an S+ tier champion, so I'd highly recommend, if you haven't already and he's not getting nerfed in 12.17, to pick this bad boy next patch. Now, the last top laner to think about, maybe better than both Renekton and AAtrox, this is Darius. So for Darius in 12.17, because there are no nerfs just like AAtrox, this means the 12.17 Summoner's Rift, it's going to be as juicy as ever. Now, I know this page here is recommending you guys to go Shrinebreaker, which you can go, and this would really be useful against lots of ranged champions. So you might be playing against a Teemo in the top lane, or the enemy team might have a Graves jungle. So you need a little bit of gap closing, right? The slow from Shrinebreaker's active is invaluable. But let's just say you're snowballing really hard, which is very achievable on a champion like Darius, then going Trinity Force as your mythic item is just a better option, because you will end the game so much quicker. The Trinity Force spike is a lot scarier than a Shrinebreaker spike. Don't get me wrong, Shrinebreaker, it has its uses, it has its games to actually pick it in. But Trinity Force, especially with the Spellblade passive, it is going to mean that that enemy top laner is just the freest kill ever, and you will keep killing them until the Nexus explodes. Just make sure, guys, if you are playing Darius, you are running Flash and Ghost as your summoner spells. Now, heading into the jungle role, we have two champions here that we think you guys should definitely play for 12.17, and I don't really want to talk about them that much because it makes me upset, and my voice hurts anyway, so I don't really want to talk that much about these two. But for Bel'veth and Master Yi, because Riot gave these champions extra attack range, 50 in fact, it has made them stupidly OP. They have been S+ tier ever since those changes came in, and because there are no nerfs to these champions in 12.17,
12-17, just like AAtrox, just like Darius, guys, they are probably going to be permanent fixtures on our top champions videos until the Redo balance team decide to actually nerf them. And for all you Master Yi players, if you're going that really toxic Blade of the Rune King and Sunfire Aegis build, there are no nerfs for these items, so you can keep doing it. And yeah, these champions are just going to be Giga OP for another 2 weeks. Now heading to the mid lane, maybe a couple of champions who are a bit more interesting because they're nowhere near as maybe obnoxious as the two I've just mentioned. So the first mid laner to draw our attention to is Zed. So because Scorch got buffed, right, a couple of patches ago, in terms of the actual damage, this means that for Zed, because you are running Scorch anyway, you don't have to go out of your way to run the rune and actually abuse it, the buff version of it. And of course, the buffs to Zed a patch or so ago, so to your E, the actual energy cost, and of course to your W, these have been really good for Zed as well. So there's a couple of things here that have kind of just combined and pushed Zed into the S+ tier, and that's in every single elo, by the way. It doesn't change if it's in Master, Challenger, compared to something like Bronze, Silver. Zed does extremely well. Just make sure, guys, if you are playing Zed, to pick the right mythic for the game you're in. So if you need armor penetration, the enemy team's very tanky, get Eclipse for the mythic passive. If you're really snowballing and you're like 5-0 at 10 minutes, Duskblader, even Prowler's Claw is great, so just keep that in mind. But let's say you don't want to play an AD assassin in the mid lane, your team needs a bit of AP. Well, arguably the best champion on the Rift at the moment, this is Vex. And just like Zed, the rune page we're going to recommend here is actually running Scorch as well, so we're going to abuse the new damage it's giving you. But we do want to be running Mana Flow Ban because we're not going Biscuit Delivery, so we can go very quickly. So make sure, guys, you are aware of your Mana Flow Ban's cooldown during the laning phase. If it's 2 seconds away from coming up, just hold on to your cooldowns for a second. So do be conscious of that. Now the Vex buffs a few patches ago to her Q, so the cooldown right at level 9, so 5 points in your Q. As you can see the skill order here, your Q is on a 4-second cooldown. And remember, you'll easily have Lost Chapter by then, heck, you might even have your Mythic by then, so add that ability haste on, it will be on like a 3.5-second cooldown. That's for an ability that deals an insane amount of damage. And remember, because your basic abilities can proc your Doom and Gloom, the Fear, it makes a 3.5-second cooldown very scary, right? So if you're playing against Vex, guys, make sure you know whether she actually has the Fear or not by checking that bar underneath her HP bar. That is absolutely critical. And I kind of want to mention here as well, guys, if you are playing Vex, to start with your E. It's a lot easier to hit than your Q. Your Q is kind of telegraphed, but it becomes really easy to hit when you combine it with your E. But at level 1, your E is just quicker. It has a bigger radius as well, so you've got more chance to actually land it. So Zed and Vex, the 2 mid laners for the 12-17 top 10 champions. Now heading down to the bot lane here, we have 2 AD carries, and I was very close to putting Miss Fortune on this countdown, so if you guys haven't checked out the changes to Miss Fortune, maybe we'll go through them in another video. So she was very close, but the first AD carry to think about, this is Twitch. And the reason Twitch is here, I don't think maybe Twitch is like that unreal, but he is doing very well according to the statistics. So it's really hard for me to argue against having Twitch on here. He does extremely well in every single elo. Maybe it has something to do with supports who are good at the moment. So stuff like Lulu and Yuumi, they love playing with Twitch. And because engaged supports, well, they've been nerfed a lot because of the durability meta. So if we think of Nautilus, Leona, these champions are a lot less scary. You might have to be a little bit careful of a champion like Blitzcrank, but for Twitch with Blade of the Rune King and Kraken Slayer, and also running Ghost, you can see, with Flash, and you might be like, why on earth would you do this? Well, it's because you're in a mobile AD carry, you don't have a dash, right? And because Ghost scales so well in the mid to late game, which benefits you as well because you are a mid to late game AD carry or a hyper carry, it helps Twitch players out so much with their kite, keeping space to the enemy champions, the enemy threats, and also dodging their abilities. So Twitch, with this setup, very annoying to play against, and for sure, one of the strongest picks on the Rift at the moment and for 12-17 because nothing here is getting nerfed. Now the other AD carry, if you don't want to scale, guys, if you want to win the game, I don't know, let's say your mum's home in like 15-20 minutes with the shopping and you got to help her out, then picking Draven is going to be the AD carry for you. So Draven did get a little nerf a patch or so ago, so his Q's base damage did go down, but this has not deterred Draven players from still carving up the laning phase. In pro play as well, we're seeing Draven pretty much picked and banned across the board, because if you pick Draven, it's like a guaranteed win in the bot lane. He's very, very hard to stop and does well with so many supports. With a cheap Essence Reaver spike as well, followed by Eclipse, the armor penetration from Eclipse's mythic passive, the Spellblade from Essence Reaver's passive. You shred squishy champions because of the lethality, and because of the Spellblade and armor pen, you shred tanks as well. The champion is just way too good. And not to mention the fact that your adoration stacks, you get so much gold from them once you do put some numbers in that kill column. So Draven along with Twitch, those are the 2 AD carries for 12-17. Now we've only got room, guys, for 1 support, and to be honest, I can put a few supports on this countdown, but one is still standing out among the crowd, this being Janna. And even though Janna copped a few nerfs, it wasn't even like 1 or 2 nerfs, it was 3 to 4 nerfs a couple of patches ago, she is still boasting like a 53% win rate in most elos. So I really don't know how this champion can't be on this list. She's performing at such a high level, and yes, I know like the mini rework, this really helped Janna, so the Q traveling at a faster speed, maybe even like just the durability better, right? So I talked about how Lulu and Yuumi really go nicely at the moment because Twitch is good, and because lots of other supports just aren't as good. So peeling supports and enchantresses like Janna, they just thrive at the moment. It's very, very annoying to play against. Like, I don't know how many times you've played against a Janna in recent times, but it just feels really hard to kill her and the teammates around her. Just make sure, guys, if you are playing Janna, it's a lot better if you run heal, because your AD carry can run something like exhaust or cleanse. It pretty much makes you both unkillable, not just your AD carry. And also make sure you're running revitalize in your secondary tree. We want our shields and we want our healing from Moonstone to be amplified as much as possible. So Janna might be the only support, but she is a darn good one to pick in solo queue for any elo as well. So take these picks, guys, into consideration into your champion pool formation, whatever you want to call it, in 12-17. If you did enjoy the video, please remember to leave a like down below. Any questions, thoughts, leave them in the comment section. And until our next season 12 upload, this has been a peace.